I did not publish a review of the M3 MacBook Air. The reason? Well, it was pretty much the same as the M2 MacBook Air. And I did review the M2 MacBook Air, but only because it was visually distinct from the M1 MacBook Air. Specs-wise, they were also pretty much the same. So then why this video? Why review the M4 MacBook Air? Doesn't it just follow the same pattern? Yes, sassy pants, but where I had a hard time recommending previous MacBook Airs to just about anybody, this is probably the laptop for just about everybody. Huh? I know. Let's talk about what has changed to warrant that, and what I hope is still yet to come. Yeah, there's a new color, let's move past it already. It's kinda blue, little bit of hue, mostly silver. It's okay, I guess, better than nothing. Why is Apple so allergic to fun and whimsy? I don't know. It's kinda nice though. Like the M3 Air before it, the M4 Air is the last product in the lineup to inherit the new processor. I mean, it's already in the iPad, and the iMac, and the MacBook Pro, and the Mac Mini. But unlike those other Macs, the M4 chip performs a fair bit differently in the Air, and you can probably guess why. The lack of air. Now, I made a pretty bold video about a year ago that many have said has aged like fine milk. In it, I postulated that the generational improvements from the M3 to the M4 would not likely be that impressive, under 20%, and I'll admit, I got that part wrong. We'll talk numbers in a second, but I got another, perhaps more salient point very, very right. Increased transistor density can come in one of two ways: making the transistors themselves smaller, or making the chip itself larger. And while I screwed up guessing real-world performance gains, I did accurately predict process gains, which means that the M4 is faster than the M3, mostly due to size, a 13% die size increase to be exact. And yes, more size means more heat. It was my opinion that the M3 was encroaching upon the thermal limit of the redesigned MacBook Air chassis, and I feel that the M4 has officially surpassed it. The M4 MacBook Air throttles. But that shouldn't be a surprise, as every M-series MacBook Air has throttled. In fact, I was quick to defend the M2 Air's throttling when everybody else was freaking out about it a few years ago, because it took quite a long time under heavy load to fully heat soak, and even when it did, a fully throttled M2 Air was still faster than an unthrottled M1. With M4, well, that's just not the case. After just 8 runs, or 9 minutes in Cinebench R23, which is a benchmark that effectively only taxes the chip's CPU cores, the machine dips below the unthrottled performance of the M3 MacBook Air. That ain't great. Now, to give the M4 credit, it does have 2 extra efficiency cores, and in my opinion, better tuned package power regulation, which does mean that it takes a fair bit of time to fully heat soak when only taxing the CPU. In our Cinebench testing, it took over 35 minutes, but when it does finally reach that rock bottom, it's just 7% away in performance from an also fully heat-soaked M3 MacBook Air, which suggests that the chassis is the problem, not the silicon, because the silicon is a lot more than 7% quicker. All this talk about thermal throttling is really heating up my brain. You know what I need? A break to cool down and tell you about today's sponsor, Plod, and their remarkably excellent note-taking device. It is an ultra-thin, MagSafe compatible, aluminum-wrapped recording device designed to address common issues with phone voice memos, like battery drain, storage limits, interruptions from calls, and unprofessional looks of, well, holding up your phone. In its default state, it captures room audio, but an onboard switch allows you to increase the sensitivity to actually capture the earpiece vibrations through your phone's body for recording phone calls. It boasts significant recording time, battery life, and storage, but the real magic is not the hardware, it's its AI, because Plod Note uses a variety of LLMs powered by models like GPT-4o and Claude 3.5 Sonnet to transcribe recordings, identify different speakers, understand numerous languages, and automatically generate structured summaries, action items, and even mind maps. It even has an Ask AI feature where you can query your own indexed recordings, making it the ultimate study companion or assistant. Now, regarding privacy, which is crucial, Plod clarifies that its AI processing primarily occurs on secure cloud services like AWS, using models like OpenAI's Whisper for transcription. They emphasize data security through TLS encryption and regular audits, and they have achieved SOC 2 Type 2 reporting to meet industry standards. So if you need a focused tool for effortless recording and AI-powered note-taking, Plod Note is definitely worth checking out. The link is below. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, and it would be easy to say, Guy, did I hear you right? 40 minutes at 100% CPU utilization before it fully heat soaks? That ain't a problem, pal. And you would be right until you even touch, even look at, even sniff, even lick the GPU at the same time. I was lambasted in the comments section of my last video by suggesting that the M4 MacBook Air could play Red Dead Redemption 2 reasonably well. And commenters were right to be critical, because when I did my initial testing, there was a foot of snow on the ground outside. I was in my office that's a little bit cooler than our studio here, and with the benchmark here, a little bit of rabbit hunting through the picturesque hills there, I saw frame rates in the mid-30s. Quite reasonable for a thin and light laptop without a fan, and so, well, I wrote it into the script. It can game! But when we shot B-roll a week later, it was a warm spring day, and with these studio lights blaring, those same benchmark frame rates struggled to hit the mid-20s after just a few minutes of testing. The thermal soak was real, and performance tanked. In a 71-degree Fahrenheit room with a mixed workload, we can get this machine to drop from its 25-watt package burst to just 17 watts in less than 30 seconds. And then after just 3 minutes, with mixed CPU and GPU usage, we're at a fully heat-soaked 9 watts. 3 minutes! And this perfectly illustrates the inherent challenge with these fanless designs. When a machine can't expel its own thermal refuse, every little variable plays an outsized role in determining sustained performance. It's a reality that I should have better acknowledged in my previous coverage, and it's particularly relevant with the M4's higher thermal output. And a higher thermal output it has, because this is the first time in an Apple Silicon Era MacBook where the laptop's palm rests get noticeably warm, even when doing casual work, about 84 Fahrenheit or 30 Celsius. Not hot, but warm. And under heavy load, we've measured the keyboard deck surface temperatures at 48 degrees Celsius. Not so molten as to burn a hole in your hand on contact, but definitely toasty enough to irritate the skin after just a couple of minutes of touching your lap. Alright, so we've established that this machine struggles under sustained load. But luckily, the M4 is so quick at performing most tasks that it often completes them before the thermal issues can even arise. AI tasks are particularly impressive thanks to the improved neural engine and increased memory bandwidth on M4. The Stream benchmark, which tests said memory bandwidth, validates Apple's advertised 120 gigabytes per second, and in real-world use, well, Mac Whisper's local transcription, which uses Core ML, is so fast and so accurate that I have abandoned cloud-based voice-to-text entirely. It is awesome, and you can thank the M4 MacBook Air for the subtitles on this video. Need a breath of fresh air? Well, even more demanding AI reasoning models like DeepSeek R1 run pretty well, churning out around 20 tokens per second when using a quantized 7 billion parameter model. Not blazing fast, but quicker than you can read it, which surpasses what most would consider a minimum threshold for local LLM use. And smaller, non-reasoning models like the 1 billion parameter Gemma 3 absolutely flies. It's super usable. Much of this improved AI performance comes from the increased RAM quantity. And we can thank the flop that is Apple Intelligence for that one, because the baseline 16 gigabytes of RAM is a huge win this time around. And while the M3 Air got upgraded to 16 gigabytes mid-cycle, it didn't ship with it at launch. For AI, this means that you can run larger than those tiny 1.5 billion parameter models, but for everyone else, especially for typical MacBook Air buyers who don't bother closing tabs or quitting applications when they're done or clearing memory caches, you're going to see better speed and performance across the board. RAM is good, and hopefully, you'll also see greater disk longevity thanks to the lesser use of swap. Now, the M4 MacBook Air also fixes a huge irritation that plagued a lot of the Air lineup since that original M1 MacBook Air shipped all those years ago, and that is display output limitations. For M1 and M2, only one external display could be driven. It was a huge problem, even in classroom settings. Now, M3 brought the ability to drive 2 external displays, but only if the laptop's lid was shut. Weird. The M4 Air, however, can finally output to 2 external 6K monitors in addition to the built-in display, which I suspect is going to satisfy 99.9% of potential MacBook Air users. Now, of note, closing the laptop's lid does not get you a 3rd external display like you might expect. You're stuck to just the 2, but this is likely due to the Thunderbolt bus bandwidth limitations rather than some weird thing Apple's decided to do. Now, while some may bemoan the inability to drive 4 displays like the MacBook Pro, you guys are weird, and you should probably just be on a MacBook Pro anyway. Which brings me to the question posited at the beginning of the video: who is the MacBook Air for? Because honestly, For the last couple of years, the answer was complicated. The 2020 M1 MacBook Air was an incredible introduction to Apple Silicon at $999. But the M2 refresh brought with it a price hike that put the device, in my opinion, in an awkward position because while the form factor was new, everything else was largely the same. Just $300 to $400 shy of the frequently discounted M1 Pro and M2 Pro MacBook Pros, the Air lacked numerous premium features like the stunning HDR mini LED display, superior speakers, better microphones, an improved webcam, active cooling when needed, not to mention double the memory and storage in the base config, and a Pro SoC. Once you started configuring the Air with those upgrades, the vastly superior MacBook Pro often came out to be the more economical choice, and in a chassis not that much larger. That was insane. Bringing the Air back to $999 with 16 gigabytes of RAM as a standard transforms it from a consider other options proposition to the default choice for most. I mean, it's already available for $899 at many retailers on sale, and it remains that price through Apple's education store year-round. Even after paying the frankly outrageous $200 upgrade to move from 256 to 512 gigs of storage, which is not borderline. It is criminal in 2025, given that is literally $2 worth of flash, you're still roughly $200 below the sale price of a 14-inch M4 MacBook Pro. And not M4 Pro MacBook Pro, because that got pushed up the lineup. Just a regular M4 MacBook Pro. Yeah, that extra $200 will still get you a superior display, better speakers, and a chip that doesn't ever throttle, but that's about it for now. And for many, perhaps most users, those premium features are not worth the extra cost, especially considering that the Pro still has a larger size and heavier weight along with it. So it sounds like a no-brainer. It's competent, reliable, efficient, but just utterly devoid of excitement. You know what computer I've been using most of the past year despite owning basically every Mac? This M4 iPad Pro. Not because iPadOS is suddenly a powerhouse, trust me. I still run screaming back to the Mac multiple times per week for things that it just can't do. But I am somehow magnetically gravitated towards this device because the hardware is so genuinely remarkable. That tandem OLED screen, it's the best display I own. Period. In any device. It's impossibly thin and light. Even with the Magic Keyboard, the 13-inch iPad Pro with keyboard weighs the same as the 13-inch MacBook Air. And my 11-inch iPad Pro is a heck of a lot lighter than both of those. It's got an amazing touchscreen, pencil support, better cameras for document scanning, an optional 5G modem. Do you hear that, Apple? Put the freaking modem in your laptops. Oh, and it's got the same M4 chip with frankly similar limitations. Okay, I get what you're saying. Hey, while they share the same starting price point, that's for an iPad without a keyboard. And you're right, you add on the Magic Keyboard and you're one Apple upgrade price tier higher. But look at what that extra money gets you compared to the jump from an M4 MacBook Air to an M4 MacBook Pro, or worse, a 256 gig MacBook Air to a 512 one. It is a completely different experience, and the iPad just screams, ugh. We keep hearing rumors, and pretty credible ones at that Apple is trying to inject some excitement, some gumption back into the iPhone lineup this year with a new slim model in September, one expected to take upon itself the Air name. A device that's not likely to have the best specs, but one that makes you go, ooh, that's hot. I want that. Let me ask you something. When was the last time the MacBook Air did that for you? 2020, maybe? 2011? I don't know. For me, it's been a while. Make no mistake, this is the best MacBook Air ever from a pure value and capability standpoint. A device that when someone asks me what laptop should I buy will be my sole recommendation. This boring, sensible, incredibly competent machine. Maybe the day will come that Apple resurrects the laptop that I actually want, but until then, I suppose this will do. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, stay snazzy.